Hey everybody, this is Mateo, the youth program coordinator at Rainbow Laser Center's youth program, and I'm going to share with you my tiny mask tutorial. So to start off, let's go over the material list. So you will need either an empty toilet paper roll or an empty paper towel roll, paint or markers, pencil, scissors, an X-Acto knife, which is optional, paintbrushes, that's assuming you will be using paint instead of markers, paper, paper towel, and a cup of water. So step one, you'll need to use your scissors to cut the toilet paper roll in half, or if you're using an X-Acto knife, feel free to use that. As you can see here, that's exactly what I did. Okay, so step two. So before you do anything else, if you already haven't, this is a good time to start thinking about the type of mask you want to make. So if you Google luchador mask, you will notice that there are a variety. So for this project, I used a luchador mask like as an idea and as a concept to make my mask. However, this project can be anything you want. So it doesn't need to look like mine or even be a luchador mask at all. So yeah, I chose to make mine in this shape, and so it's kind of like an almond shape. Okay, so here you have a better look of what I made, or what the shape I chose. So this next step is optional, but suggested if you do plan to hang your mask up. So as you can see, I made two little X's to mark where I will be cutting out holes to put string through. And at this point, I did use an X-Acto knife to make the incisions there, but you could definitely use scissors instead. Okay, so step four. So assuming you will be using paint, this is where the paper towel, the sheet of paper, and a cup of water will be useful. So throughout this craft, while I was painting, I placed a little paint on my paper. I dipped my paintbrush in water occasionally to remove any paint from my brush. I also used a paper towel to remove any excess water or paint off my brush. So if you will be using paint, it's good to have those extra materials available just to make the whole process a little easier. So on to step five. So after I cut the holes in my mask, as you can see, I used white paint as a primer. So using a primer is helpful in making the next layers of color pop out more. And we'll move on to the next step, and I'll kind of share with you some of the other benefits of using a primer. So once after the white paint dried, I went ahead and drew my design lightly with pencil. So I used a pencil instead of a marker or pen because I can erase any mistakes I've made. So the white primer was also helpful during this process because the surface felt nice and smooth, which made it a lot easier to draw on. Okay, so on to step seven. So you may or may not be able to see this, but if you look closely, I did erase some of the pencil so it won't be visible once the paint dries after it's painted over. This is entirely optional as it doesn't impact the end result, but I thought it would be helpful for others to consider. I ended up using yellow paint, so that was where I was kind of anxious about the pencil being visible after I painted the yellow. So you'll see on the next slide here. So step 8, now you can see that I did use a yellow, and as you can see, you don't see any of the pencil. So I started painting the outline of the design I chose, and remember to take your time, but to also have fun and enjoy what you're doing. So this took a little time, but it was a labor of love. Step 9. So this is where I added the second color, and I chose this design because it was simple, but I did find this part can be a little challenging. So once the paint is dry, you can always go ahead and make any corrections. You can go back and fix any mistakes you may have made. Okay, so step 10, and I'm done painting. So this is kind of what the end result does look like. And we'll move on to the next slide so you can take a peek at kind of like what it ended up looking like. So there you go. This is my final product. I thought it was very cute. So I hope this was enjoyable for you. If you have any questions about this craft, definitely feel free to email me, get into contact with me. I'll be more than happy to send you the slide or to talk about any other similar crafts. This wasn't my first mask, but I definitely enjoyed this. I made a few other masks. Hopefully, maybe at some point I can go ahead and share that with the group. But thank you so much for watching. I hope this was fun, and stay tuned for any future crafts we do. All right, take care.